Listeners, before we get into the conversation further today on the Cosmic Confluence podcast, I want to ground this for all of you. We talk about resilience a lot. We praise grit, we glorify the comeback. But what we rarely talk about is the cost of holding it together for too long. Some people listening right now look successful. They are productive, respected, admired, and they're quietly unraveling. Today's guest understands that from the inside, listeners. Joe Rivera does not just talk about comebacks, he embodies one. By 25, he was pulling seven figures on Wall Street. The cars, the penthouses, the status were all there. But behind that image was addiction, spiritual emptiness, and pain that achievement could not anesthetize. His collapse was not subtle. Two overdoses, six cans of Narcan, walking out of the hospital to get high again. And yet that was not the end of his story, listeners. What followed was not just recovery, it was reinvention. Let me tell you, listeners, Joe is now an inspirational speaker, high performance strategist, and also founder of Reforge Academy, where he works with high achievers who look successful on paper, but deep down they feel disconnected from their purpose. His book, Reforge Your Life From Addiction to Assignment, is not about fixing habits, it's about reclaiming identity. So let's get on to the conversation today on the Cosmic Confluence podcast, listeners. I'm your host, Sana, and Joe. Welcome, and it's really an honor to have you here.
Wow, awesome. Thank you so much for having me, man. I appreciate it.
Joe, what a journey in there. Definitely. Let's first, begin with a particular word that I'm very sure many of our listeners will be kind of having flashed in their mind: resilience. And Joe, we often define resilience as ability to push through hardship. But in your life, pushing harder actually made things worse. So at what point did resilience stop being strength and it started becoming like a self destruction for you?
Yeah, that's a great question. So,
Mm.
yeah, I went from Park Avenue to Park Bench. I lost everything. I even almost lost my life. I was emotionally, financially, and spiritually bankrupt. I lost everything, and I had my dream job in the financial industry. I'm 25 years old, making seven figures a year. I should feel like I'm on top of the world at this point.
Yeah.
But seven figures a year? Nah, that ain't good enough. Because I live in a world with a belief system of never enough. I want more. I want eight figures or nine figures. I'm chasing that fast life. And at this point in my life, being spiritually bankrupt, money's the only higher power that I know. I'm willing to do whatever it takes to make more money. I'm putting in late nights at the office one evening. And this dude, we call him Johnny Connect. We call him that because he had the connections to get his hands on anything you could imagine. Keep in mind, we're in New York. So this
Mm.
dude swears that he's part of the mafia. He sits down at my desk and he says, "Hey, Joe, you think you're a top producer now? Take this little round pill and forget about it. You're going to produce even more." Wall Street is also known as Drug Street, and everybody's doing some kind of drug. I'm already smoking weed, drinking, or having some kind of mind altering substance in my body every single day for the past 15 years at this point. So I said, why not? And that's when I got introduced to opiates. And that's when my battle with substance abuse took off to the next level. My life goes dark. and becomes completely unmanageable. I'm risking my life every single day. I overdosed twice. The last time, it took 6 cans of Narcan to bring me back to life. 6 freaking cans of Narcan.
Yeah.
That same night, I'm laying in the hospital bed. I wake up. I pulled the EKG electrodes off my body, leave the hospital against medical advice. And then when I get outside, it's the middle of winter. I'm in a hospital gown and I'm shivering, looking like a crackhead, like Pokey from New Jack City, because of all the opiates that were being taken out of my system. And the first thing that I do, I go call the dealer again to go get high. A week or two later, my sister invited me for an event. I don't remember exactly what it was, but something cracked wide open. I looked at my sister.
Mhm.
She looked at me, and we both started crying. Sana, she knew exactly what I was going to say.
Yeah.
And then the words came out. The words my family was waiting to hear for over a decade. I said, I don't want to do this anymore. I'm a shell of my true self. I'm tired of writing my obituary. I want to begin creating my legacy. After that, I made the most important decision of my life to go get sober. My story is not unique. Many people struggle with vices. Mine was drugs and alcohol. Someone else might be gambling, shopping, whatever that vice is. It interferes with us being our true self by having us isolate, not being fully present. It creates character defects. For some, life may become unmanageable. They may lack direction. Some people lose motivation and their self esteem. I promise you, to all the listeners out there, you don't have to live like that. There's a better way to live life. And I'm living proof because when you find and live in your purpose, that's when the real comeback begins.
Absolutely. And, Joe, I mean, sometimes this is how it is, it has to happen. And one kind of question comes to my mind, like at any point of time, um, I mean, I know it's kind of, difficult, but I think that's the part of healing that, is it's often kind of, gets ignored in conversations, that when you actually got into substance abuse and you were kind of in that, a complete rigmarole of things, that you are succeeding, you are getting more and more money and all that, did your inner self ever kind of talk to you that no, this is wrong, I have to leave this? But then once again there was kind of a fight between your mind and heart, that I cannot do this, I cannot leave this, or else everything will be lost. You know how it is.
Yeah, so what we're talking about after achieving sobriety, you're talking about?
No, before.
Beforehand. Oh yeah. I mean, so when I was on my way to rehab, uh, me and my sister were driving up there, and as we passed the Starbucks, I asked my sister if I could use the bathroom. So when I got into that Starbucks bathroom, I had no intentions on going to the bathroom, doing a number one, number two. All I really wanted was to get high one last time before rehab. I'm in that bathroom stall with a needle in my hand, and I'm ready to shoot cocaine and heroin into my arm. I'm not thinking about the fact that I'm risking my life. I'm not thinking about the fact that my sister might be stuck outside because I die in that bathroom. I'm not thinking about the fact that my kids might never see their father again. No, all I'm thinking about is myself. I got all these fears racing around inside my head. I got a fear of the withdrawals I'm gonna go through because I didn't have opiates in my system anymore. I got a fear of going to a rehab for the first time and be open and vulnerable. I got a fear of life without drugs because that's the only life I knew for 15 years. And I became a shell of who I truly am. All these fears caused with self doubt, worry, imposter syndrome, lack of direction, anxiety, self validation. But through this journey of personal development and sobriety, I've learned that. And one big thing I learned when I went to go and turn my life around was that putting the drugs down, that was the easy part. I had to learn to be able to look into the mirror and apologize to myself for all the damage that I caused my family, all the self destruction, all the pain, the agony. I like to be able to learn to forgive myself
Yeah.
because I had to change. I had to learn to peel the onion back and take stock of who I was because I had to be able to change my mindset. I had to learn to change my identity. And I realized that I'm not a victim of my circumstances and conditions. They don't control my destiny. I do. Because I'm a spiritual being living a human experience, and I could do anything I put my mind to. But I had to learn to face that fear in order to get to where I am.
That is so true. That is so true, Joe. And especially, I think what stands out to me is that resilience, as we usually define it, can actually delay healing. Like, we praise people for surviving environments that are slowly killing them. Like, it's a badge of honor. It's the most important, the only part of your identity. And what I realized, like, listening to you is true resilience was not about staying in the fire, but choosing to step out of it, even when that meant losing status, losing control, certainty, and identity. And I think it absolutely reframes resilience as discernment, not toughness. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong.
No, no, you're right on. Adversity, overcoming adversity reveals character.
Yeah, it does.
It's something that we all are faced with adversity sometime in our life. And when we overcome that adversity, every time you come over any adversity in your life, you're building your perseverance muscle. Because perseverance, that's exactly what it is. It's a muscle. The more you're able to overcome it, the bigger that muscle gets. And because this ride of success, it's not a straight line to the top. Shit's gonna get up. There's gonna be bumps in the road. We gotta learn how to navigate through those bumps in the road. And that's where the growth is. And the growth is in that perseverance. So every time you're faced with something that you're thinking of running away from, you're running away from growing your perseverance muscle. You're running away from being able to capitalize in your life. Because that's what you do whenever adversity faces you. You're able to capitalize on it because there's a learning lesson inside of it. And the L in loss does it is not for loss. It's for lesson.
Yeah. I strongly believe, Joe, that, if even if you run away from your problems or the challenges just for the short term relief or the temporary relief, someday or the other, the problem is definitely going to fall on your face. It will be really, really hard. I mean, you'll definitely feel like giving up. So, what you said, especially around the perseverance muscle, that is so, so true.
Yeah, and you know what? Every time you feel like giving up, remember you're giving up on yourself.
Exactly.
You're giving up on being able to grow. You're giving up on being able to move forward. Because let me tell you, whatever it is you're going through, somebody out there's gone through worse and they've overcome it. So, or they've gone through the same exact thing and they've overcome it. You're not the only person going through what you go through. That's why it's important to lean into other people who have gone through similar situations to overcome adversity.
Absolutely. And Joe, let's talk about one particular word that I think is so, so important. And it's very central to your book as well, because your book talks a lot about identity, not just addiction. Um, do you believe that addiction is more about substances or about the identity someone is trying to escape or protect or
I,
suppress?
b- I believe that addiction, because like I mentioned earlier, putting the drugs down was the easy part.
Yeah.
I had to learn to change my identity. And I believe that addiction is in the behavior. It's in the patterns that we live. And it's something that we have control over. It doesn't have control over us, right? Because if once you learn to turn addiction upside down on its head, you could use it toward your advantage.
Yep.
So it all starts in the mind. Addiction starts in your mind. It's in the mind and the behavior that you create and the behavior and the patterns that you live by.
Right. And I think this challenges a lot of recovery narratives also, because um if addiction is rooted in identity, I think uh it's not just about stopping a behavior, but then about letting an old identity die. And then, recovery is also not comforting. It's kind of destabilizing. Like, it's asking people to grieve who they thought they were. And I think that may be why so many high achievers, especially, avoid healing even when they know that something is wrong.
Yeah, because you think about all the addictions that are out there, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't have to do with the substance. I mean, when people, are addicted to sex,
Mm.
it's not there's not a substance there, right? You're addicted to, you're telling yourself that you need to you don't have self-control. And that's something that's a behavior, right? You don't have self-control, or even with food, with all of it, it's really about the self-control and the patterns that you create in your life and what you've done to be able to get addicted to whatever it is that you claim that you're addicted to. Shopping, overeating, and there's so many vices that people latch onto, but those vices, we have control over those vices. They don't have control over us. And once you start realizing that and you realize our mind is the most powerful tool we were blessed with. Our thoughts become emotions, those emotions become feelings, those feelings become reaction,
Right.
that reaction becomes your result.
Yeah.
So, for your audience out there, I think it's important to realize that you are a spiritual being living this human experience, and you could do anything you put your mind to, and you were created to be more than you could ever imagine. You have the power within you to do amazing things, but you have to go after and get it.
That is so right.
Have to put the work in.
Of course. Of course. I mean, without that, it's kind of just, uh, just toxic positivity, or just blind motivation without any action or direction.
Yeah, there's no aligned action. I mean, I always say I don't know, what everybody else's belief is out there, right? What you call it God, the universe, the infinite intelligence, whatever you believe, but believing something greater than yourself to help
Mm.
you unlock your fullest potential is vital for success. But whatever it is that you believe in, you know, For me, it's God, right? And God, I believe God doesn't reward wishful thinking. He rewards aligned action. Teamwork makes the dream work. You got to work with that higher source in order to get what it is you want out of life. You want to overcome these obstacles that are in your life. Don't just fall for, oh shit, I'm in this situation. I'm stuck in my situation. I'm a victim of my circumstances and conditions. That's bullshit. You control your you're not a victim of your circumstances and conditions. They don't control your destiny. You do.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And as you bring like you mentioned about faith, like some people, Joe, argue that leaning on faith can become a way to avoid personal responsibility. How do you respond to that?
So, look, uh, I, man, it's funny to me because I'll tell you this: fear and faith could be looked at very similar. Something you can't touch, you can't feel, but you know it exists. The big difference is fear will lock you into survival mode. Faith creates legacies.
Whoops.
Fear will fear will lock you into survival mode. Fear also builds a prison around you. Faith, it builds empires. So I choose to lean into my faith to overcome those fears because that's where the real freedom lives. I mean, I can't even imagine, not having faith in something. That's got to be a lonely life. That's a lonely ride. I mean, think about all the successful people out there who ended up taking their life, right? I mean, you could talk about the Robin Williams of the world, the Michael Jacksons of the world, the Marilyn Monroes of the world, the Elvis Presleys, just the famous people alone. I mean, these people had the world in the palm of their hands and they took their life. Why? Because something was missing. I mean, think about the average billionaire who's jumps off the 52nd floor window. Why? Because something's missing. It's that belief in something greater than themselves. It's that belief that there's not more. That's a lonely place to be. And I coach a lot of people, a lot of high performers out there who, they hit this wall of exhaustion or they make all this money and they have all these awards, all the accolades you could think of. But then there's something missing.
I agree. I agree with that. I really appreciate, like, this is such a brilliant, brilliant take on this because this difference, this distinction between faith and fear, that sometimes it gets so much dissolved, like, so much um like disregarded that, we often equate faith with fear. Nope, it's not.
Yeah.
Hmm.
It's not. Faith will always overpower fear if you believe and you really truly believe. Because think of it this way, right? If you don't have faith in yourself and you don't believe in what you're doing, you're never going to be able to reach your fullest potential. And that's a part of faith, right? It is believing in yourself. And this big thing, but with spirituality and religion, it's worlds, right? I'm not talking about the religious side on the rules and the that go with religions. I'm talking about spirituality. I'm talking about building a relationship with something greater than yourself that's going to help you unlock your fullest potential. I don't care what you call it: God, the universe, infinite intelligence, Buddha, Allah. I mean, it doesn't matter. Whatever it is you believe in, but believing in something that's going to get you through those dark times is vital for success
Yep.
and building that relationship. That's the big difference. I'm not talking about rules and regulations that go with religions and then the different beliefs. You could have a belief in whatever it is you want, but believe that there's something bigger than you that's going to get you through those dark times. That's going to be able that you're going to be able to lean into and bring into your challenges, bring into your successes.
So right. Before we wrap up, I think there's also a very popular belief, Joe, that people need to hit rock bottom to change. And uh, so I just, kind of, I also personally need to understand, like, do you think, Joe, that collapse is necessary for transformation?
Not for everybody. Not for everybody. I mean, that was my story, right? But the reason I do what I do is so that people don't have to hit that rock bottom to be able to bounce back, right? It could just be dark times, that are gonna make that you're gonna want to change from something in your life. That the big thing with change is it's within you. You have to want it.
Mm.
I was sick and tired of being sick and tired. I wanted to make the change finally because there was so many times prior to that where I tried doing it on my own, or I didn't ask for help because I allowed my ego to get in the way of me changing.
Yeah.
So if you could dig deep and find a way to remove your ego and say, hey, you know what? I want help with this, then you can change. You're not going to change by yourself. There's got to be a support network around you. You got to be willing to be able to remove the ego and say, hey, you know what? I don't want to do this alone.
Exactly.
I'm ready to make a change. I want to know someone else who changed in the same area that I'm looking to change in and see how they made those changes and learn from them so that I can make the changes and not the same mistakes they made. It's never too late to it's never too late to change though.
Yeah.
This is that's the thing people got to understand. Change is always available if you're there to be able to accept it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And if someone listening to us, is still functional, but then deeply unhappy, Joe, what warning signs should they take seriously before collapse forces any change here?
Life being unmanageable. I mean, when life is unmanageable, that is collapse, though, right? And it looks different for everybody. My bottom was two overdoses. The last one, 6 hands of Narcan, and I was sick and tired of being sick and tired. Somebody else's bottom could be, something completely different. They lose $1 million. My bottom was just so happy that I lost more than 1 million and overdosed and almost died. But everyone's is different. Someone else could be a divorce.
Yep.
Someone else could be another type of near death experience. So there's so many different ways that somebody hits a bottom. But the point is when you start realizing that things are spiraling, you better go get help in whatever it is you do. When you start realizing that, man, I'm not who I was a year ago. I'm not who I was 6 months ago. I'm not who I was 5 years ago. I'm starting to see the change. I'm starting to see that I'm a shell of who I truly am. I'm starting to see that I can't handle this alone. When you start feeling overwhelmed, when you start feeling lacking direction, when you start feeling that uneasy feeling in your stomach, because guess what? We know when that bottom's coming. We know when we're at that bottom. It's about being able to admit it, accept it, and say, you know what? I got to get help on this. It could be with your business, it could be with your relationships, it could be with your finances, it could be with your health, whatever domain of it is in your life. You know when things are unraveling. Those signs are there. It's about not ignoring the signs.
Amazing, amazing. Thank you so much, Joe, for bringing this raw honesty, depth, power, courage into the space. I really, really thank you for this. And if listeners they would like to connect with you, share their thoughts, feelings after this conversation, you have also a podcast as well and your book as well. What would be the best way?
So I do have a book that was just released. It's called Reforge Your Life from Addiction to Assignment. It's the story of my life, along with the trials and tribulations I've gone through and the strategies that I use to be able to bounce back to where I am today, the program I put in place, the systems I put in place. It's me taking giving you a peek under the hood of the comeback. That's out on Amazon. It's out on, it's going to be on my website soon. Also, you'll be able to get access to it, but you can catch it on Amazon. Again, Reforge Your Life from Addiction to Assignment. And then you guys could find me on Instagram at with Joe Rivera. You could also find me on LinkedIn at with Joe Rivera. Facebook, YouTube is Reforge Academy with Joe Rivera. The YouTube channel's there. The podcast is there. The podcast is called Reforge Your Life with Joe Rivera. And that's based off of business leaders and entrepreneurs who've overcome adversity to create their own comeback story. So taking a look at, listen to the podcast, watching an episode. I mean, there's so many tools and resources on that podcast alone from the experiences of other people out there who have gone through, adversity and overcoming that adversity. If my story doesn't resonate with you, check one of the other 100 episodes out there that maybe somebody else does. Also, my website is withjoerivera.com, and I have a gift that I want to give away to your audience, son, if that's okay with you.
Absolutely. Go ahead, Joe.
So my gift is the comeback code. It's gonna be 10 laws of the comeback, raw, no BS. We're talking mindset rewires that pull you out of survival mode and back into leadership. You're gonna get the 72-hour reset protocol. It's short, savage, and spiritual. This will get your edge back real quick. Also, you're gonna be able to get uh, a 6-minute audio drop of yours truly. Whenever you're in the fog, I'm there to snap you out of the fog. And you're going to get the self sabotage expose sheet. It's the habits you've been sugarcoating, exposed with ruthless clarity so that you could kill them at the root. To get that gift, all you got to do is DM me the word code, and I'll get that over to you guys. DM me the word code on Instagram.
Awesome. Awesome. Listeners, there you go. I'll have all the links and details in the show notes. So find them attached along with this episode on your favorite podcast platform. And you know what, listeners? This conversation absolutely challenges all of us to ask a harder question. Not how do I get back to who I was, but who am I being forged into now? So, for anyone listening who feels successful but hollow, driven but disconnected, admired but exhausted, this is your invitation to pause. You do not need to wait for collapse to choose reinvention. And listeners, thank you for tuning into this episode of Cosmic Confluence. And Joe, once again, thank you so, so much. This was really, really powerful.
Thank you so much for having me. My gratitude's through the roof.
And once again, listeners, I'm your host, Sana, and I'll catch you in the next episode of Cosmic Confluence, where inner truth meets lived experience. Until next time, take care.